As the summer gardening season starts to wind down and I look at this neighboring farmers' fields, I thought I would share with you this morning the 7 fears I faced this year in the garden and what I did about it. So let's do it. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Grow You Girl channel. Now, if this is your first time here, my name is Sherry. This is my garden. And today I'm going to talk to you about the top 7 fears that I faced this year in my garden and most years, to tell you the truth, as I went through this list and compiled it. If this is the first time that you are here on our channel, welcome. And please subscribe, like, do all those good things that help me to grow this channel, because my goal with this channel is to help more people, especially women, get into the garden to enjoy the benefits. And a lot of these fears that we're going to talk about today are really based around the benefits and what we have to get past to really embrace gardening as a lifestyle that will bring us so much joy in our life. All right, so let's do it. So number 1 is starting. So if you're a brand new gardener, starting is probably the hardest thing that you will do, because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. But let me tell you, even as years go on, starting can be a fearful thing. And for me, it's like turning the soil for the first time. Now, I do love the smell of dirt. I have come to love the smell of dirt. And it's just about planning what you really want. And that's like getting past any fears is doing it, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, right? And so I really feel it's no different when it comes to gardening. And, and then it's starting to get excited about what new plants I want to try. What's my plan? Starting small and growing. My garden's pretty large at this point in time, but I've been gardening for probably close to 40 years now. So, and this garden itself, I've been in this garden for 30 of those years. So it's really, one step at a time. It's always the best way to do it. So number 1 is starting. Number 2 is to decide early on what challenges you're willing to take on and maybe what challenges you're not willing to take on based on time, etc. And we're going to talk about time as one of our things here in a moment. But I knew early on in June that I was going to have a major challenge with grasshoppers. We've had it for the last 3 years. I kind of hoped maybe this year, some of the things I read said grasshoppers usually last 3 years. So this is the 4th year. We wouldn't have that situation. Well, my friends, we had the situation, but I was not going to give up on my garden. And I know quite a few people who did give up on their gardens, that just said, forget it. I have and we'll link it here, a whole video I did about grasshoppers and what we did to combat the grasshoppers. But that was my big challenge that I looked at. And we all have our own challenges depending on where you are in the country. I'm here in zone 6A and here just outside of Boulder, Colorado. And so we all have our different things. We also had some Japanese beetles. I keep forgetting their name because I want to forget all about them. You know what I'm saying? So, and a few other things along the way, some pincher bugs, just a few things. But we'll talk about bugs here more in a minute. So what are the challenges? Number 3 is to experiment. Gardening is about experimenting. Every year, probably one of the greatest thrills I have about gardening is experimenting. Do I like this flower? Do I like this flower? Does this flower grow good in our part of the world? Will this perennial come back next year or will it not? And remember, perennials are the ones that come back year after year if all goes well. Sometimes here in Colorado, we can have some really early freezes, some different things that'll happen that can kill off our perennials. But for the most part, they come back, where annuals are that come every year. So experiment. Don't be afraid to sow seeds directly into the ground, because it's one of my greatest joys. It's really how, in my story of gardening, that's how I started, because I couldn't afford any to the landscape new house I had purchased as a single young woman, and so I started direct sowing, and it really is what got me smitten with gardening. But also a couple of years ago, I started sowing seeds indoors around March, January, March, depending on what seeds you're sowing, and I have fallen in love with that now, and it's gotten me warmed up for gardening in those late winter months and into early spring. So what do you want to experiment as you look at gardening? Number 4 is give yourself a gardening budget. Gardening can get expensive. I am here to tell you, no doubt about it. But uh, give yourself a budget and then look for sales. Look for who is it. Like sometimes there's farmers in your area that have plants for sale, etc. So where can you do it? Get 6-packs. I always say get a 6-pack because 6-pack of plants grow rapidly in the summer months for the most part, or a 4-pack if you buy individual plants, they're much more expensive. And like everything else, they have gotten much more expensive. Again, and it goes back to the direct sowing. Seeds are so economical to do, but give yourself a budget and then really, no, I know some people that are fearful of buying plants because I might kill it. Well, I have killed many a plant, and it's just part of the game. So know that's why I don't spend a ton of money on plants, on an individual plant, because in case it dies, I don't want to feel that bad about it. If it's just a 6-pack that costs me, $3 or something, it's not that hard to deal with as opposed to a plant that's, $25. Number 5 is to don't let the bugs bug you. Now, I can tell you, I was not a big bug person before I became a gardener. Bugs freaked me out. And this summer, especially, I have become really mesmerized with spiders. This sounds crazy. Now, I don't really want them in my house, but in the garden, they're such a friend to the garden. And with my grasshopper issue, I had probably 4 different areas here in the garden where there were spiders with webs that were catching grasshoppers for me. It was pretty amazing. Same goes with the garter snakes and different things that happen in the garden. Again, I talk about that more in the grasshopper video, but they're just friends. And so it's getting used to them. Now, the grasshoppers I will never get used to, or anything that's destroying the garden. It's not one I want in my garden, but there is a lot of good bugs. We all know ladybugs are good, but when you see too many ladybugs in your garden, which I had in the spring, there's too many aphids around. So what's going on with that? So pay attention to the bugs, be pesticide free. I can't emphasize this enough, is that this world has enough problems. And as individual gardeners, if we can actually make our gardens pesticide free, we are doing so much more for the planet and the bees, because the bees are I honor the bees so much because they are the pollinators. They're the ones that really make our gardens thrive. So no sprays, no pesticides. Number 6 is to give yourself the time that your garden requires. This takes a lot of my time. Now, I hate to use the word semi-retired, but I am. I'm a business coach by trade. I still work with some of my clients. I'm doing this YouTube channel. I'm writing a book. I've got a lot of stuff going on. And so I really have to, like morning time, this time of day is really my favorite time to be in the garden. It's like how I like to start my day. I'm a big meditator. Sometimes my meditation is just a walking tour through the garden. I did a video a few weeks back about deadheading. And that is very meditative to me. And it's part of the beauty of gardening, so that you're not rushing out and just weeding or doing this or doing that, but you're enjoying your garden. You're out in your garden, being a part of your garden. So give yourself a time. If it's morning, maybe you work full time and it's in the afternoon, but making sure that you're making that habit start to happen, that this is what I do to honor my garden, to honor myself, and to give myself just some calming, peaceful, meditative time, because that is why we do this, right? That's why we do this, is to have that time that means the most to us, and to enjoy nature. And then finally, number 7 is happens this time of year, and that's be ready to let it all go. You know, it's amazing to me that it is right now just the middle of September, and in 6 weeks, if I'm lucky, keep my fingers crossed. It's been an amazing fall here, or summer going into fall. We're not even in fall yet. We've got not until next week. But it's been beautiful. And but to know that but I've had Labor Day back in 2020. We had our first snowfall on Labor Day itself, and so you just never know. But this year we've been very lucky, so I'm hoping we can get to the end of October. They've changed our zone to 6A, and I keep saying to myself, is that because we get a longer season now? Like, what is that all about? But don't be afraid to let the season go, because it's going to go. There's nothing we can do about it. The perennials are going to go to sleep. My which I'm looking at right now, you can't see my zinnia bed. They will go because they're annuals. But just starting to look forward to what's going to happen next season. We've got a project going on in the very back of the garden I'll be sharing with you here in a few weeks that I'm excited about. We won't be able to enjoy it until the spring of 2025, but it's something to look forward to. I'm already looking at seeds for the spring. You know, it's just looking forward and not looking back with regret, but with joy. And that's where even taking pictures, videos, we've got our phones with us to just remind you during the winter months of the garden that you had. It's a great way to take a journal of your garden to help you remember next spring what happened this year, right? Because it goes by. And the other thing I wanted to say is that gardening helps me to embrace the seasons of nature more than anything in my life. I can go hiking. I live in a beautiful place here. We have mountains, just a 10-minute drive from here that we can go up into the mountains. We're actually doing that today after I finish recording this video. I'm excited about that. And I'll be sharing that little adventure with you in the weeks ahead too. But but it's just really enjoying, like, you know, my asters. They took all summer to bloom, and they just started blooming about a week ago. And it's just watching all these things happen. You know, winter comes. I think winter's beautiful. When the snow falls in my garden beds, I'll share some of that with you in the future too. It's just beautiful. There's a piece that, you know, I will share with you in the weeks ahead as well about putting your garden to bed and how I put it to bed. There's a lot of different philosophies that people have about, you know, how you should put your garden to bed. But because we've had so many grasshopper issues and Japanese beetle issues, that I don't go by the thing of just letting everything die and stay. I tuck it in with some compost and do it a different way. So I'll share that with you in the weeks ahead. But it's just really understanding the cycles of nature, letting it go, knowing it'll be back again next year, and knowing what comes for you, what grows well for you. Got something that just came in on my glasses here. I can't see. What works well for you and what doesn't work well for you. And, you know, and as I say all this to you, I'm looking around at my garden, just knowing I just made a marigold wreath a couple days ago, because I know the marigolds are going to go and the wreath will last. Like, what can you take and forage in your garden right now that you could either dry some flowers? I've shared a video in the past of pressing flowers. Like, what is it? We've got apples coming out of our apple tree, that we've got apples coming. Oh, like, it's been such an abundant year. So I've got that. I'm going to be sharing with you a thing about, I just made this tomato powder because I've had so many tomatoes and I haven't had a lot of success with dried tomatoes. So there's all kinds of things that make your garden your own, this season your own, and takes you through the winter. And I enjoy the winter time, that I can just kind of relax, and I don't have this all day, that I can get to other things like maybe cleaning my house, which that I'm not looking forward to. But I was just looking the other day going, wow, this house could really use a really deep clean because I've been out here all summer. So that's what I wanted to share with you today in this video. You know, again, feel the fear, do it anyway, get past these things, and you will have a garden that will thrive, that will share so much joy in your life. And again, that's the point of the Grow You Girl channel, is that we are here, myself, my husband Ed, who pops into videos from time to time, our pooches, and I just love sharing and helping you to get into the mindset of what it means to be a Grow You Girl, of what it means to embrace nature in your own backyard or balcony or wherever it is you have the opportunity to grow and be with nature. With that, my friends, I will say adieu for this week, and thanks for joining, and I will see you soon. Take really good care, and remember that onward we grow. Thanks for growing with us, and we will see you next time. And in the meantime, be sure to like, comment, let us know what really resonated for you in this video, and then of course be sure to subscribe at no cost to you and be updated when we have new videos up to play.